Hey, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while. My name is still Alexander, and I'm still a guitarist, composer, and overall music nerd from Copenhagen, Denmark. And in this video, we're building yet again another high-gain rhythm tone. This time around using the PEAVEY the Invective, the PEAVEY VITRIOL. You know which one it is. And we're using one of my own custom Mesa IRs. Let's go. Alright, so welcome to Helix Edit. As you can see on the screen, a fairly standard tone in, at least in my style of doing high gain rhythm tones. And I tell you, I've done quite a lot. You can see all of them somewhere on this channel, and things change. Sometimes it's been a while since I've done one of them, so of course my approach changes and I started liking different things, and you kind of know how it goes, right? We are sort of eternally tone chasing, and this is no different from that. Okay, so overall you can see it should fit with the HX Stomp as well, right? Because we're on a single chain, and I try to sort of keep it like that, both for accessibility for you guys, of course, but also it's usually how I go about using the tones I use for my band as well, that you can of course check out down in the description as well. Shameless plug. All right, so let's dive into the tone. And this time around, I have built it, as I also said in the intro, on the PEAVEY VITRIOL, or the PEAVEY, the Mesa Invective model. And you can see all of the settings here. They're not super special. I think they are almost the default settings, but I have turned down the depth a little bit. I always put my bias and bias X at 4.5 and bias at 6.5 sounds the best to me. And the rest of the annoying parameters are just turned all the way off because we don't need them for where we're going to Chuck City. So that is the amp, and I have the IR, the Mesa Cap 1 Mix 1 from my new IR pack, the Mesa 4x12 caps. It was quite a process, but I ended up making it along with the other few impulse response packs that you can of course find on my website, and we don't need to go too much into that. That's not what this video is about. You can always check out that product if you want to, but you get this IR for free, and it is part of the pack, so you can kind of get a free taster of what quality IRs that is, and yeah, kind of how they sound. Okay, so that is the sort of meat and potatoes, of course, and it sounds like this. Actually a decent sounding amp. I really thought about changing this in my main presets for using live. I haven't quite gotten around to do that yet. I am an older person, so change takes a little time. But I have to say this amp is it's fucking nuts. It's a clear competitor to the Ref Gen Purple that I love, and the Badunk, which I also quite like. So it might be my main amp in the future. Who knows? Okay, so the basics first. The input gate is of course on. It's at fairly stock settings. I took the decay all the way down, as I usually do. Minus 48 dB, I think, is the default setting. Nothing crazy there. And drive pedal. I wanted to try something new, so I put the pillars, which I guess is the Plumes, sort of a Tube Screamer-ish pedal, and it goes boom, right? Makes it sound sick. Check it out without. Kind of low-endy, a bit muddy, boring, right? And drive pedal on. And we get all of the focus, we get all of the mid-range, the lows become tight, and we can basically start to chuck and play zeros and ones all the time, right? And it's a super standard Tube Screamer settings, gain all the way down, tone all the way up, and level all the way up. I got sort of lazy. I could maybe have tweaked it around a little bit. You can do that for yourself. This video is already turning out to be fairly long. I'm sorry, but it's been a while and I like to ramble with you about stuff. Alright, so following the distortion pedal, it got sort of noisy, so I put on the horizon gate to make it so we can get those tight zeros and ones. And it's stock settings, I think. Maybe I turned it up by 1. I think it's 7.5 on the sensitivity. Depends on the guitar. This is a fairly standard iron label Ibanez with EMG 8581. I thought many of you guys out there have that pickup configuration as well. And if you watch some of my other videos, you know this trick, the Sonic Drive Studios, the string chime EQ trick. Right, really gets that string chime, hence the name, but gets some high end and some pick attack out of the without, right, and with. Right, so we get that just that spot where the pick attack frequency lies. It gets boosted. Sounds really great. Fairly standard too. After the cab, I usually put a parametric EQ, and I have these settings. They are of course tailored to my guitar and my hands and my liking. So if this sounds too hissy to you or whatever, sounds too low-endy, I don't think it will do that. But if there's something you don't like, this is a great place to tweak, because these are my preferences, and this is a great and easy place to sort of tweak the overall sound of the tone, right? So it just gets nice and bright. At least to my ears now, it sounds kind of dull and boring, right? Compared to this. Right. And do I have any notes here? Yeah, as you can see, I reduced the 16K quite a bit because it got fairly hissy for me. And usually I cut around 125 and 250. That's quite normal. And then I actually reduced 1K as well. But the where the sort of the gold lies in this, for me at least, is the 8K and the 4K and the 2K needs to be boosted a little bit to get that brightness and get the mid-range out and the highs out, right? And in combination with this basic EQ, the pick attack or the string chime EQ, it sounds super nuts in my opinion. And if you thought that we couldn't get any more high-end and any more sort of get it any clearer and more get more clarity, we put a high shelf in there as well. And we reduced the low frequency band again, and we boosted the highs even more. So without. With. So this may be a little too much for you, but you know what? You can just take it off and put something else in there. To me, it sounds great on this guitar with my hands, my pick, and my preferences. It sounds great, and in the mix, I think it would help. This will help sort of cut through some of the noise, depending on what sort of constellation you play in. Yes, so the high and low shelf, a really nice trick. It can really save a lot of sort of mediocre tone. If I use this, the low and the high shelf, or the tilt EQ, kind of depends on the day. They can sort of provide the same kind of idea. I know they don't do exactly the same thing, but making the overall sound brighter or darker, or in this case, taming or reducing the lows and boosting the highs at the same time, it can be a fairly good trick. Then, as you know from my previous videos, I usually put a compressor before my distortion pedal, and recently I got kind of sick of that. I think it's a matter of preference, but I noticed that, and of course it does, compressors basically reduces the louder sounds and boosts boosts the lower sounds. And I noticed that especially the sound of my hand moving around on the guitar, those sounds, they came out quite a lot. And of course, it is due to the compressor being in the front of the chain, because it's compressing basically the DI signal before it, oh god, into the void before it actually hits the amp. And I would try to sort of counteract that, but still get the benefits that I had before, the as I mentioned a billion times, the playability, not having to fight the strings as hard, and when playing fast and stuff like that, it feels more sort of effortlessly, right? And I try to move it to the back of the chain instead. And here we have the LA Studio Comp, and I must say, it also sounds really great. Now, don't be tricked by it. It boosts the volume a little bit. I did that for sort of tone or volume matching purposes. But of course, you can set it so you can set the gain so it doesn't fluctuate in volume, and you can only hear what the compressor does and not get cheated by loudness, right? Without the compressor, I play a lot of power chords today. It sounds like this. Right, sounds sick. Just in those low zeros. Right, so as we can hear, as compressors do, they compress, make the loud sounds lower and the lower volume sounds higher, right? And sort of squeezes the tone together. And in this case, putting it at the very end sounds sick as fuck. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch my video. I hope that you got some nice tips and tricks out of it for your high-gain tones. You can, of course, download the IR in the link down in the description. It will take you to my website, my new website, and you feel free to browse and anything you like in there. Or you can simply just get the free preset and the free IR, and I will be totally all right with that. As always, feel free to like the video, throw a comment down below and tell me what you thought about it. Or if you want me to build other kinds of tones in the future, feel free to let me know down there. And as always, it's also nice if you would subscribe to the channel, because it immensely helps the channel out and it's super free on your end. So why not help a brother out? Again, thank you very much for taking the time to watch the video. It really means a lot to me. I hope that it won't be a year or however long it has been since I last put out a video until I see you again, or you see me, or you know how this YouTube thing works. But you know, life and stuff like that. But I hope that I will get into the rhythm of making tone videos again very soon. Until next time, guys, thank you very much for your time and your support. I will see you.